subscribe, and press the bell icon to my YouTube channel. Asterisk no one dared to relationship without seeing the face of the alien queen except Lucky Human. Asterisk Dr. Eleanor Rodriguez pressed her face against the small window of the transport ship. Stars stretched past like silver threads as they moved through space. After 3 weeks of travel, she could finally see their destination. The Zephyrian diplomatic station hung in the darkness like a giant flower made of metal and light. First time seeing a Zephyrian station? Asked Captain Mills from behind her. Eleanor nodded. It's beautiful and huge. Wait until you meet them, the captain said. His voice sounded worried. Dr. Rodriguez, are you sure about this mission? No human has ever tried what you're about to do. Eleanor turned away from the window. She had spent 2 years preparing for this moment. Earth needed this alliance with the Zephyrian Empire. They controlled trade routes to half the galaxy. Without their friendship, humanity would remain stuck in their small corner of space. Someone has to be first, she said. The transport ship docked with a soft bump. Eleanor gathered her bags and walked toward the airlock. Her heart beat fast, but she kept her face calm. She had trained for this moment at the academy. She spoke 12 alien languages and had studied alien cultures for 15 years. But nothing could really prepare her for what came next. The airlock opened with a hiss. Cool air rushed in, carrying strange smells, like flowers mixed with metal. Eleanor stepped into the station. The first thing she noticed was the size. The ceiling stretched so high above her that she could barely see it. Blue and silver lights danced along the walls like living things. Everything seemed to glow with soft light. Dr. Rodriguez, welcome to Station Vexmer. Eleanor turned toward the voice. A tall figure approached her. It walked on 6 legs that moved like water. Its body was covered in scales that changed color, from blue to green as it moved. This was her first time seeing a Zephyrian in person. I am Ambassador Keffer, the being said. Its voice sounded like music. I will be your guide during your stay. Eleanor bowed in the traditional Zephyrian greeting. Thank you for hosting me, Ambassador. I hope our peoples can become friends. Keffer's scales flickered between colors. Quickly, Eleanor had studied this behavior. It meant the Zephyrian was nervous or worried. Dr. Rodriguez, Keffer said slowly, before we begin, I must ask you something important. Do you truly understand what you have come here to do? I'm here to meet with Queen Vexthara and discuss trade agreements between our species. Eleanor said, yes, but do you understand the sacred law? Keffer's scales turned dark blue. No being may speak with our queen without first seeing her. True face, this is not negotiable. It is our oldest law. Eleanor had read about this in her briefings. I understand there is a ritual involved. Keffer stopped walking. His 6 legs shifted nervously. Dr. Rodriguez, 12 different species have sent ambassadors to meet our queen. None of them survived the face-seeing ritual. Eleanor felt cold suddenly. What do you mean? Survived. Some died instantly. Others went mad and never spoke again. A few simply disappeared. Keffer's scales turned almost black. Your species is young in the galaxy. We fear you may not be strong enough. They continued walking through the station. Eleanor saw other aliens moving through the corridors. Some she recognized from her studies, the tall, thin Valdrani with their bird-like heads, the round, fuzzy Gorbik who rolled rather than walked. Others were completely new to her. Tell me about the ones who failed, Eleanor said. Keffer led her to a large garden area. It was filled with strange plants that glowed softly in the dim light. In the center stood 12 tall stones, each one carved with different symbols. This is the memorial garden, Keffer explained. Each stone represents a failed diplomatic mission. He pointed to the first stone. The Valdrani sent their best warrior. He looked upon the queen's face and his mind shattered like glass. Eleanor walked to the next stone. In this one, the Gorbik sent their wisest philosopher. She saw the queen's face and fell into a sleep from which she never woke. Keffer's voice became quieter. The crystalline collective sent a being made. Of pure thought, it simply ceased to exist. Eleanor studied each stone carefully. The symbols told stories of failure, madness, and death. Her training had mentioned the ritual, but no one had told her it was so dangerous. Why? She asked. What makes the queen's face so terrible? Kefra's scales shifted to a pattern Elena had never seen before, swirls of silver and gold. Our queen is not like other rulers, he said. She carries the weight of our entire species in her consciousness. When you look upon her true face, you see not just a person, but the collective thoughts and feelings of billions of Zephyrians across the galaxy. You see the birth and death of stars. You see the burden of making decisions that affect countless lives. Elena felt her mouth go dry. And this doesn't affect Zephyrians? We spend decades preparing our minds before we can look upon her safely. Even then, it takes great strength. Kef turned to face Elena directly. Your species has been in space for less than 100 years. You have never encountered anything like this. They left the memorial garden and continued through the station. Kefra showed her to her quarters, a small but comfortable room with a window facing the stars. You have 3 days to prepare. Kefra said, if you choose to continue with the ritual, I will guide you to the sacred chamber. But I must warn you one more time, no being has ever survived seeing the queen's true face. And remain unchanged. Most do not survive at all. After Kefra left, Elena sat on her bed and looked out at the stars. Earth seemed very far away. Now, she thought about her family back home, about the hopes of her people for this alliance. She thought about the 12 memorial stones and the beings who had died trying to do what she was about to attempt, but she also thought about something else. In all her studies of alien psychology, she had learned that humans were different from other species in one important way. They could feel many conflicting emotions at the same time and still function. They could see terrible things and still find hope. They could face the impossible and find a way to understand it. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe being human was exactly what this situation needed. Elena began to plan. Elena woke early the next morning. She had spent most of the night reading files on her tablet, but sleep had been difficult. Her dreams were full of strange faces and memorial stones. After breakfast, she found Kefra waiting outside her quarters. I have prepared something for you, he said. His scales showed a pattern of deep blue mixed with silver. If you truly wish to continue with this mission, you should know exactly what happened to those who came before you. Kefra led her to a large library filled with floating screens and data crystals. The room hummed with quiet energy. Other Zephyrians moved through the space like dancers, their scales reflecting the light from the screens. These are the complete records of every failed attempt, Kefra explained. He touched a panel, and 12 screens appeared in the air around them. Everything we know about what happened is here. Elena approached the first screen. It showed the image of a tall, proud being with golden skin and forearms. Text scrolled beside the image in Earth. As common language, Commander Zeravel of the Valdrani Empire, Elena read aloud. Military leader with over 300 years of combat experience. Known for mental strength and discipline. Watch what happened, Kefra said sadly. The screen changed to show a video recording. Elena saw the golden-skinned warrior standing in what looked like a ceremonial chamber. Bright light filled the room, and then something changed. The warrior's confident posture crumbled. She fell to her knees, clutching her head, screaming silently in the recording. Within seconds, she collapsed and never moved again. The queen's face broke her mind instantly. Kefra explained, Veldrani are trained from birth to face any enemy without fear. But this was different. Elena moved to the next screen. This one showed a round, furry being with large, wise eyes, Scholar Humcor of the Gorbic Council. She read, philosopher and deep thinker. Spent 100 years studying the nature of consciousness. In reality, the video showed the scholar entering the same chamber. This time, when the light changed, the being simply froze. Her eyes became empty and distant. She sat down slowly and never spoke again. She is still alive, Kefra said quietly. But her mind is somewhere else now, somewhere we cannot reach. Elena studied screen after screen, each told the same story with different details. A crystal being that simply shattered into pieces. An energy creature that faded away like smoke. a plant-like ambassador whose leaves turned black and fell off. They all approached this differently, Elena said after studying the records for an hour. But they all failed the same way. What do you mean? Keffer asked. Elena pointed at the screens. The Valdrani tried to face it like a battle. The Gorbic tried to understand it like a puzzle. The crystallines tried to analyze it like data. They all used their species' greatest strength, and all their strengths failed them, Keffer said. Elena continued reading. She found detailed psychological profiles of each species. The Valdrani valued courage above all else. The Gorbic prized wisdom and deep thinking. The crystallines were beings of pure logic. Each species had sent their best representative, someone who embodied their people's highest ideals. That's the problem, Elena said suddenly. Keffer's scales shifted to bright yellow, the color of surprise. What do you mean? They all tried to face the Queen's true nature, using their own nature. But what if that's exactly wrong? Elena began pacing around the floating screens. You said the Queen carries the consciousness of your entire species, that she shows the weight of cosmic responsibility. Yes, that is correct. No wonder the other ambassadors failed. They were trying to conquer something that can't be conquered, or understand something that can't be fully understood. Elena stopped pacing and looked at Keffer. Tell me about your people. How do young Zephyrians prepare to see the Queen? Keffer's scales turned thoughtful colors, swirls of green and blue. We begin training in childhood. We learn to empty our minds of expectations. We practice accepting things that seem impossible. We study meditation and spiritual discipline for many years. But even then, it's dangerous for you. Yes, even with decades of preparation, some Zephyrians cannot handle the experience. It requires a special kind of mental flexibility. Elena felt excitement growing in her chest. That's it. That's what humans have that others don't. I do not understand. Elena turned to face all the screens at once. Every other species that failed tried to use their greatest strength. But humans, we're different. We don't have one greatest strength. We're good at many things, but not perfect at any one thing. She pointed at the Valdrani warrior. Valdrani are brave, but they can't show weakness. Look at the Gorbic philosopher, incredibly wise. But they need everything to make logical sense. The crystallines are pure thought, but they can't feel emotions. And humans? Keffer asked. Humans can be brave and scared at the same time. We can think logically while feeling emotions. We can accept things we don't understand while still trying to understand them. Elena's voice grew stronger as she spoke. We're contradictory. We hold opposing ideas in our heads without breaking. Keffer was quiet for a long moment. His scales cycled through several colors Elena had never seen before. You believe this contradiction makes you strong enough to face our Queen? I think it makes us flexible enough. Every other species tried to remain true to their nature when they faced something beyond nature. But humans, we adapt, we change, we survive by being many things at once. Elena spent the next several hours studying how humans were different from other species. She read about human psychology and compared it to alien minds. The more she learned, the more convinced she became that she was right. Other species were specialists. They had evolved to be excellent at specific things. Humans were generalists. They were decent at many things and could switch between different approaches quickly. I have an idea, Elena told Keffer as the day ended. Instead of trying to conquer the Queen's true face, or understand it, or analyze it, what if I just accept it? What if I look at her and simply acknowledge what I see, without trying to make it fit into any category? Keffer's scales turned deep purple, a color that meant he was thinking hard. This approach has never been tried, he said finally, because no other species could try it. They're all too focused on their own way of seeing things. Elena looked back at the memorial screens. But humans see things from many angles at once. Maybe that's exactly what this situation needs. That night, Elena began preparing her mind not by trying to strengthen it, but by practicing being open to whatever might come. She would face the Queen tomorrow not as a warrior, philosopher, or analyst, but simply as a human being ready to meet another person. No matter how strange that person might be, For the first time since arriving at the station, Elena felt ready. Elena stood outside the sacred chamber, her hands steady but her heart beating fast. 3 days of preparation had led to this moment. Kiefer stood beside her, his scales shifting between worried blue and hopeful silver. "Are you certain about this, Dr. Rodriguez?" he asked for the 10th time that morning. "Once we enter, there is no turning back. The ritual must be completed." Elena nodded. She wore simple white clothing as the ceremony required. In her mind, she repeated the plan she had developed. Don't try to be brave like the Valdrani. Don't try to understand everything like the Gorbic. Don't analyze like the Crystallines. Just be human. Just be open. "I'm ready," she said. The chamber doors opened without sound. They were made of some material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Elena stepped inside, and the doors closed behind her with a soft whisper. The room was larger than she had expected. The ceiling curved high above her head like the inside of a great dome. Soft blue light came from everywhere and nowhere, making the walls seem to glow. In the center of the chamber stood a raised platform, surrounded by flowing water that moved in impossible spirals. And there, on the platform, sat Queen Vexthora. Elena had seen pictures of Zephyrians, but the queen was different. She was taller than others of her species, and her scales seemed to contain tiny stars that twinkled in the blue light. But her face was hidden behind a veil of pure energy that shifted like liquid. "Silver, welcome, Dr. Eleanor Rodriguez of Earth," the queen said. Her voice was like music, but sad music, like a song about things that were lost long ago. "You have come to see my true face, as the law requires." "Yes, Your Majesty," Eleanor replied. She walked closer to the platform, her feet making no sound on the smooth floor. "Do you understand what you are asking?" the queen continued. 12 ambassadors have stood where you stand now. None survived the seeing unchanged. Most did not survive at all. Elena stopped at the edge of the platform. The queen was only a few feet away now, but the energy veil made it impossible to see her features clearly. "I understand the risk," Elena said, "but I also understand that my people and yours need to become allies. This is the only way." The queen was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice carried a weight that Elena could feel in her bones. "Very well, but know this, human, what you are about to see is not merely my face. It is the face of every Zephyrian who has ever lived. It carries the weight of billions of souls, the memory of dying stars, and the burden of decisions that shape the fate of entire worlds. It is beautiful and terrible and true, all at the same time." Elena felt her mouth go dry, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm ready, Your Majesty." The queen raised one hand. "Then let the ancient ritual begin." The energy veil began to fade like morning mist. Elena felt the air in the chamber change, becoming thick and heavy with power. The lights grew brighter, then dimmer, then settled into something that was not quite light at all. And then Elena saw the queen's true face. It was impossible to describe in words. The queen's features shifted and changed like living liquid. Sometimes Elena saw a face that was beautiful beyond imagination. Sometimes she saw something ancient and worn by countless years. Sometimes she saw not one face but thousands, all layering over each other like reflections in broken mirrors. In the queen's eyes, Elena saw stars being born in great explosions of light. She saw worlds dying as their suns grew cold and dark. She saw the faces of billions of Zephyrians across the galaxy, all looking to their queen for guidance and protection. Elena felt the weight of cosmic responsibility pressing down on her mind. She understood now why the other ambassadors had failed. The queen's face showed the burden of caring for an entire species, spread across countless worlds. It showed the loneliness of making decisions that affected the lives of billions. It showed the pain of watching civilizations rise and fall over thousands of years. For a moment, Elena felt her mind begin to crack under the pressure. The easy thing would be to look away, to scream, to let madness take her like it had taken the others. But then something uniquely human happened. Instead of trying to conquer what she saw, or understand it, or analyze it, Elena simply accepted it. She let herself feel scared and amazed at the same time. She let herself be confused and enlightened together. She held all these contradictory emotions in her mind without trying to make them make sense, and in that acceptance, she saw something else. Beyond the cosmic weight and the burden of power, beyond the terrible responsibility and the loneliness of rule, Elena saw something that every other ambassador had missed. She saw a person who was tired. "You're exhausted," Elena said softly. The queen's shifting features froze. For a moment, the cosmic visions faded, and Elena saw just a face, ancient, wise, but most of all, deeply weary. "What did you say?" the queen whispered. Elena took a step closer. The weight of cosmic consciousness still pressed on her mind, but she had learned to carry it alongside her human emotions instead of fighting against it. "You're tired," Elena repeated. "All that responsibility, all those decisions, all those people depending on you. It must be so heavy to carry alone." The queen stared at Elena with eyes that held the light of distant stars. "In 10,000 years, no one has ever. How can you see that? How are you not broken by what you witness?" Elena smiled, and it was a perfectly human smile, sad and hopeful, and understanding all at once. "Because I'm not trying to be stronger than it," she said. "I'm not trying to defeat it or solve it or understand it completely. I'm just accepting it. And in all that cosmic responsibility and power, I can still see you, just you, a person doing a really difficult job." The queen's face stabilized into one form, that of a being who looked ancient, but kind, powerful but gentle. Tears that sparkled like liquid starlight rolled down her cheeks. "You see me," she whispered. "Not the burden I carry, not the power I wield, not the cosmic weight of my office. You see me." Elena nodded. "Yes. And you look like you could use a friend." For the first time in millennia, Queen Vexthara began to smile. Queen Vexthara stared at Elena for a long moment, her tears still flowing like liquid starlight. The cosmic weight that had filled the chamber began to fade, leaving behind something much more personal and quiet. "How?" the queen whispered. "How did you survive seeing what destroys all others?" Elena felt the strange sensation of her mind slowly returning to normal. The visions of dying stars and cosmic responsibility were still there, but they no longer threatened to break her. "Thoughts apart, I think it's because I didn't try to fight it," Elena said honestly. "Every other species tried to use their strength to overcome what they saw, but I just let it be what it was." The queen stepped down from her platform, without the energy, veil, and cosmic visions. She looked more like a regular person, though still clearly powerful and ancient. "For 10,000 years, I have ruled the Zephyrian Empire," the queen said. "In all that time, only my own people have been able to look upon my true face. And even they require decades of mental training first." Elena nodded. "Kefir told me about the preparation your people need. But you needed no preparation at all. You simply accepted what you saw." The queen walked to the edge of the chamber where the water flowed in impossible patterns. "Tell me, Elena Rodriguez, what exactly did you see when you looked at my face?" Elena thought carefully about how to answer. "At first, I saw what everyone else probably sees: cosmic power, the weight of billions of lives, the burden of making decisions that affect entire worlds. It was overwhelming. And that is where the others broke," the queen said sadly. "The Veldrani warrior tried to be brave enough to face it. The Gorbic philosopher tried to understand it completely. The crystalline entity tried to analyze and categorize it. All failed because they fought against what they experienced." "But you didn't fight it?" Elena shook her head. "No. I let myself feel scared and amazed at the same time. I let myself be confused but also enlightened. And when I stopped trying to make sense of it all, I saw something else underneath everything." "What did you see?" "You," Elena said simply. "Just you. A person carrying a really heavy load who looked tired and lonely." The queen was quiet for a long time. She moved her hand through the flowing water, and it changed colors from blue to silver to gold. "Do you know what my face truly shows?" the queen asked finally. "I think so, but maybe you should tell me." The queen turned to face Elena directly. When I became queen, I accepted a joining. With the collective consciousness of my people, every Zephyrian's thoughts and feelings flow through me. Every joy, every sorrow, every fear and hope of billions of beings, I experienced them all. Elena felt her heart sink as she understood. That's why your face shows so much. You're not just carrying the responsibility of ruling. You're carrying the actual emotions of your entire species. Yes, and more than that. The queen's voice became even quieter. I see through time as well as space. I experience the birth and death of stars because my people have witnessed them. I feel the weight of decisions because I must choose not just for the present, but for futures I can see coming. Elena sat down on the floor of the chamber, suddenly feeling very small. That's impossible for one person to carry. It is. That is why others go mad when they see my true face. They experience just a tiny fraction of what I carry every moment of every day, and it destroys their minds. The queen sat down as well, which somehow made her seem more human despite her alien appearance. How do you survive it? Elena asked. I survive because I must. My people need their queen to be strong. The queen's scales shifted to darker colors, but I had begun to wonder if survival was enough. I have been searching for someone who could understand without breaking, someone who could see the person behind the cosmic burden. Elena understood now why this meeting was so important. The other species all tried to be worthy of your cosmic power, but you weren't looking for someone worthy of your power. You were looking for someone who could see past it to the person underneath. Exactly. The queen's scales brightened slightly. For thousands of years, I have been surrounded by those who worship me, fear me, or try to use me, but no one has simply seen me. Elena thought about her own life back on Earth. She remembered the loneliness of being the only human who specialized in alien psychology. She remembered the weight of representing her entire species on this mission. I think I understand a little bit, she said. It's different, but when I came here, I felt the weight of all human hopes on my shoulders. Everyone on Earth is depending on me to succeed. It's scary to have that much responsibility. The queen looked at Elena with new interest. You carry your own burden, much smaller than yours, but yes, and I think that's why I could see you as a person, because I know what it feels like to have people depending on you, even in a small way. The queen smiled, not the cosmic, overwhelming expression from before, but a simple, grateful smile. Tell me about your people, the queen said. Tell me about humans for the next hour. Elena and the queen sat in the sacred chamber and talked like friends. Elena told stories about Earth, about human art and music, about their wars and their attempts at peace, about their dreams of exploring the stars. The queen listened carefully to every word. Your species is very young, she said finally, but you have something that many older species have lost. What's that? Hope mixed with uncertainty. Most species become rigid as they grow older. They develop one way of thinking and stick to it forever. But humans still change and adapt. Elena nodded. That's what saved me in here. I think I could be many things at once instead of just one thing. Yes, and that is exactly what I have been searching for. The queen stood up, and Elena could see that some of the weariness had left her face. Elena Rodriguez, you have given me something I thought was lost forever. What's that? The feeling that I am not alone. Elena stood as well. You're not alone, Your Majesty. And maybe we can help each other. The queen's scales shimmered with colors Elena had never seen before, warm, bright patterns that seemed to glow with new hope. I believe we can, the queen said. I believe we can change everything. 3 months later, Elena stood in the same memorial garden where Kethver had first shown her the stones of failed ambassadors. But now the garden looked different. New plants grew among the memorial stones, earth flowers that Elena had brought as gifts. Roses bloomed next to alien crystals that sang in the wind. The Council of Species has requested another meeting, Kethver said, approaching her with his usual graceful walk. His scales showed bright, happy colors these days. They want to understand what happened here. Elena smiled. Let them come. I think they're going to be surprised. The news had spread quickly across the galaxy. A human had not only survived the face-seeing ritual with Queen Vexthara, but had formed a genuine friendship with her. More shocking still, the Queen had begun to change the way the Zephyrian Empire dealt with other species. Dr. Rodriguez, the Queen is ready to see you, Kefir said. Elena followed him through the station corridors. These paths had become familiar to her over the past months. She had become the first permanent human ambassador to the Zephyrian Empire. But more than that, she had become the Queen's friend and advisor. They entered the royal chambers, not the sacred ritual room, but a comfortable space filled with soft lights and flowing water. Queen Vexthara was waiting, looking more relaxed than Elena had ever seen her. Elena, my friend, the Queen said warmly, are you ready for today's meeting? As ready as I can be, Elena replied, though I'm still not sure this will work with the other species. The Queen's scale shifted to confident blues and golds. It will work because it must. The old ways of diplomacy have failed for too long. Elena had helped the Queen develop a completely new approach to galactic relations, instead of the formal, distant protocols that had been used for thousands of years. They were introducing something revolutionary, personal connection diplomacy. The Valdrani delegation has arrived, Kefir announced, along with representatives from the Gorbic, the Crystalline Collective, and 6 other major species. Elena felt nervous excitement in her stomach. This would be the first test of their new system with the same species that had failed the face-seeing ritual. They moved to the main conference chamber. Elena had helped redesign this room too. Instead of a massive table that kept everyone far apart, they had created a circular space with comfortable seating. Instead of harsh formal lighting, soft natural light filled the room. The alien delegates were already waiting. Elena recognized the tall, golden Valdrani commander, not the same one who had died in the ritual, but one who looked very similar. The round, furry Gorbic scholar sat nearby, her large eyes watching everything carefully. The crystalline representative gleamed like living diamond in the gentle light. Welcome, honored guests, Queen Vexthara said as she entered the room. Elena noticed that the Queen was not wearing the formal robes of state. Instead, she dressed simply, in a way that showed her personality rather than her power. Your Majesty, the Valdrani commander said, standing stiffly. We come to discuss the trade agreements that our previous ambassador died attempting to negotiate. Please, sit, the Queen said gently. But before we discuss trade, I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about why your ambassador died. The room became very quiet. Elena could feel the tension from the other delegates. Commander Tharazan died with honor, the Valdrani said defensively. She faced your trial with courage. She died because our old system was broken, the Queen replied. Elena was proud of how clearly her friend spoke. The face-seeing ritual was supposed to create understanding between species. Instead, it created only fear and death. The Gorbic scholar leaned forward. Are you saying the sacred laws were wrong? Elena stepped forward. This was her moment to explain what they had discovered together. The laws weren't wrong, Elena said, but the way we understood them was incomplete. The ritual was supposed to create genuine connection between leaders, but it became a test of strength instead of a chance for understanding. She gestured to the memorial garden visible through the chamber's windows. 12 species tried to prove they were strong enough to face cosmic power, but that's not what the Queen needed. She needed someone who could see her as a person, not as a symbol. The crystalline representative spoke in its ringing, musical voice. The humans succeeded where we failed. How? Elena had prepared for this question. Not because humans are stronger or smarter than other species. We succeeded because we're different in a specific way. We can hold contradictory thoughts and feelings at the same time without breaking. Explain, the Gorbic scholar said, her wise eyes curious. Elena looked around the room at all the different species. Each of your peoples has amazing strengths. Valdrani are incredibly brave. Gorbic are wonderfully wise. Crystallines think with perfect logic. But sometimes those strengths become limitations. The Queen joined the explanation. When faced with something overwhelming, each species tried to use their greatest trait to overcome it. But some things can't be conquered or understood completely. Sometimes they can only be accepted. Elena nodded. Humans aren't the best at any one thing, but we're flexible. We can be brave and scared together. We can think and feel at the same time. We can accept mystery while still seeking understanding. The Valdrani commander looked confused. You see this as strength? I see it as exactly what diplomacy needs, the Queen answered. For too long, our negotiations have been about power. Who is stronger? Who is smarter? Who can impose their will on others? But Elena showed me a different way. Elena took a deep breath. What if diplomacy was about connection instead of power? What if we tried to understand each other's burdens, instead of compete with each other's strengths? Over the next several hours, they demonstrated their new approach. Instead of formal presentations about trade numbers and territory rights, they talked about the real challenges each species faced. The Valdrani admitted they were struggling with young warriors who had no wars to fight. The Gorbic shared their worries about preserving wisdom as their population grew older. The Crystallines spoke about feeling disconnected from organic life. Elena watched as something amazing happened, as each species shared their real concerns instead of their formal positions. The others began to respond with understanding rather than competition. This is remarkable, the Gorbic scholar said near the end of the day. I feel like I understand your peoples better now than after years of traditional negotiations. The Queen smiled. This is what Elena taught me. When we stop trying to prove how strong we are and start sharing what we struggle with, we can actually help each other. By the end of the meeting, they had not only solved the original trade disputes, but had created new partnerships. The Valdrani would help train peacekeepers for planets with civil conflicts. The Gorbic would share their educational methods with younger species. The Crystallines would help design new communication technologies. As the delegates prepared to leave, the Valdrani commander approached Elena. Dr. Rodriguez, he said formally, then paused. Elena, thank you for showing us that there are many different kinds of strength. After everyone had gone, Elena and the Queen sat quietly in the garden among the memorial stones and earth flowers. Do you think it will last? Elena asked. This new way of doing things? The Queen's scales showed peaceful, contented colors. It will last because it's based on something real. The recognition that we all carry burdens, and we're all stronger when we don't carry them. Alone, Elena looked up at the stars visible through the garden's dome. I never imagined when I left Earth that I'd be changing galactic diplomacy. You changed more than diplomacy. The Queen said softly, you changed me. You showed me that being seen and understood is more valuable than being feared or worshipped. Elena smiled. And you showed me that friendship can grow in the most impossible places. As news of the successful meeting spread across the galaxy, other species began requesting the new style of diplomatic contact. The human approach became known throughout the stars, not as a show of strength, but as a demonstration of the power of empathy, flexibility, and genuine connection. Elena had come to meet an alien queen. Instead, she had found a friend and helped create a new way for different peoples to understand each other. It was, she thought, a very human thing to have done.